over SER plus 1. Oh, yes, I found the mistake. I was committing. We are once again, I am again forgetting this R. So this R is also the part of this I. So we have an R here. So now this makes much more sense. This cancels out. So we get actually this 1 over SC over R plus 1 over SC. When we take 1 over SC common, we are going to cancel this one and we are going to get um, 1 over this thing. Let me just rewrite it clearly. So the output in the phasor in the Laplace domain would be the input multiplied by 1 over 1 plus SCR plus RC over SRC plus 1 V naught. I think that since we are dealing with Laplace transform, a better way to write would be Vi multiplied by 1 over RC over S plus 1 over RC, because if you remember that the Laplace transform table has entries like 1 over S plus A. So this form is going to be much more useful in order to find the inverse Laplace transform. So this is the output in the frequency domain, and we cannot find the V naught t in the time domain until we know what is Vi, because this is going to be the inverse Laplace transform of Vi of S. This is a function of S into 1 over RC over S plus 1 over RC, which is also a function of S, this term, plus the inverse of this can be done, which is equal to V naught e raised to the power minus t over RC. And you can see that this is that zero input response part. So this part, zero state response, can only be found if we know what is Vi. Here we have taken Vi to be a general voltage. So if we now go back to putting S, say Vi of S to be a constant value, say V of S. Now this the Vs, this is a source voltage that we covered in the first case. So if Vi of S is capital Vs over S, because remember Vit to be constant, sorry, Vs, the source voltage at t is equal to 0. The Laplace transform would be Vs over S. So this S is different, is a subscript saying source voltage, and this S is the variable of the Laplace transform. So if we now put this Vi of S as Vs over S, we are going to get V naught t to be equal to, let me write this expression, because here we have this inverse Laplace transform to be solved. In fact, let me just solve this part only. So instead of doing all this thing, let me write this part only. Zero state response would be Vs over S into 1 over RC over S plus 1 over RC, which would be equal to Vs into 1 over RC over S into S plus 1 over RC. So using partial fractions, we can write this equal to S over A over S plus B over S plus 1 over RC. Now if we multiply throughout by S and then put S is equal to 0, we are going to get this 1 over RC cancelled, 1 over RC cancelled, Vs. So we are going to get A equal to Vs. And if we now multiply throughout by S plus 1 over RC and then put S equal to minus 1 over RC, we are going to get B is equal to minus Vs. So this means this term would be equal to this term would be equal to Vs over S plus minus Vs over S plus 1 over Rc. So we can write this V naught T to be equal to the inverse Laplace transform of this whole thing, and that would be Vs ut minus Vs over this thing, so minus the inverse Laplace transform would be e raised to the power, Vs e raised to power minus t over Rc into ut, and this term is already there, V naught e raised to power minus t over Rc, and you can see that we, for the same input function as the case 1, we got the exactly same answer. In fact, here we have ut as well, because we have converted this from. So this all thing is valid for t greater than equal to 0, and this output is the same as the case 1. And the Laplace transform is a very powerful technique that can handle all cases. But once again, because this includes the zero input response, we cannot use this in the superposition because of these initial conditions. Whenever we have to find the transfer function, the initial condition must be 0, and there should be no independent sources in the circuit as well. Only then we are going to be able to find the transfer function. So the transfer function would be dependent solely on the zero state response. So we saw this case 4 with the Laplace transform. Now what I wish to emphasize is that the case 4 in it includes everything about all the previous cases. Now in this small space, let us look at some very interesting things. So if you remember, this S was complex frequency. We haven't much explained about this, but I am going to do this briefly. S is complex frequency. We take S to be a real part, sigma, plus j omega, where omega is the radian frequency, and this sigma is known as the damping coefficient. It may have damping frequency or damping coefficient. So if you now see, based on what is the value of sigma and omega, we can have several cases. So look at this thing. If we have sigma equal to 0 and omega equal to 0 as well, that is S is equal to 0. So remember, in the case of Laplace transform, what transforms a circuit in the time domain to a circuit in the frequency domain, what gets cancelled throughout was this term e raised to the power st, which is also present in the definition of the Laplace transform. So for this case, e raised to the power st would become equal to e raised to the power 0, which is 1. So this covers the DC case. So if S becomes 0, it means we are representing a DC source. Now if you look at this, and if sigma is 0 and omega is not, so S is equal to j omega. Look at this thing, e raised to power st now represents e raised to power j omega t, which is the case of the phasor, or which represents the sinusoidal sources. So that is how Laplace transform covers everything. So if we have omega equal to 0, so e raised to power st would be equal to e raised to the power sigma t, which is this case 3, which we have not seen how to solve in the time domain, could be solved using the Laplace easily, because it covers that in its original definition. And if we have S is equal to sigma plus j omega. Sigma is not 0, omega is not 0. Then e raised power st is basically equal to e raised to the power sigma plus j omega t, which can be written as e raised power sigma t into e raised power j omega t. Based on Euler's identity, you can see that this is a complex quantity. For the real part of this is going to be equal to e raised to the power sigma t into cos of omega t. Now look at this thing. This thing is a sinusoid. This thing, I'm not writing it down because there is not much space and I don't want to cram things beyond comprehension. So this is a sinusoid. If sigma is 0, then it is a sinusoid. If omega is 0, then it's an exponential. If sigma is 0, omega is 0, it's a constant. If both are not 0, then it is a sinusoid that is decaying with time. Let me just draw it here for a moment. So we have a sinusoid that decays, because a pure sinusoid is multiplied by a decaying exponential. So when both are multiplied, the later part of the sinusoid gets smaller and smaller, and it is a decaying sinusoid. So the concept behind the Laplace transform is that we are using, remember in the phasor case, we used sources that were complex exponentials, e raised power j omega t, and use Euler identity to say that the real part is what is intended. Here, the sources that we are considering in using Laplace transform to solve are decaying sinusoids, and it's a beautiful choice because it covers several cases, and you will later on see that this particular choice can even cover other sources as well, which are not DC, not an exponent, not a sinusoid, not a decaying sinusoid, in other cases as well, because because any function can be broken down into sum of sinusoids of different amplitudes and different phases and different frequencies. So basically, this is a very powerful thing that we have learned in the name of Laplace transform, and we are going to cover some associated topics that we have already covered, like the pole zero diagrams and what is a zero, what is a pole, in the next video. And then we will move towards that thing that I have hinted as what is going to happen if we change the frequency of the input, what happens to output. So how is this circuit going to behave to frequency, changing frequency of the input. That is what is known as the frequency response.